The news begins in West Africa, where an emergency meeting between the federal government of Nigeria and labor leaders is on the way as part of efforts to prevent the imminent nationwide indefinite strike. This follows a meeting scheduled last Friday between the government and labor at the State House in Abuja, which failed to hold as representatives of the organized labor refused to show up. The emergency meeting is taking place at the State House in Abuja at the behest of the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong. We'll bring you more updates as this news develops. And now to updates on Nigeria's independence. Nigeria celebrates the country's 63rd independence anniversary amidst groans from the citizens due to the rising cost of living following the harsh economy. In his speech, President Bola Tinubu addressed the nation, assuring Nigerians that his administration is aware of the current situation and has plans to make things better. News Central's Bernard Okede tells us more.
63 years of independence for Africa's largest economy, and there are still questions to ask. While some feel Nigeria has come a long way, others still believe more needs to be done. In the traditional Independence Day speech by the nation's president, the Commander-in-Chief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was making his first independence speech as president, said he is not oblivious of the struggles which Nigerians are currently going through, but that the people would need to endure.
I am attuned to the hardships that have come. I have a heart that feels and eyes that see. I wish to explain to you why we must endure this trying moment.
The president, in the nationwide broadcast, revealed 6 measures being instituted to redress the situation and ease the pain in the country.
I will now outline the path we are taking to relieve the stress on our families and households.
These measures include 25,000 naira additional wage for low-grade workers, disbursement of relief funds to states, lowering transport costs, opportunities for entrepreneurs, Central Bank of Nigeria house cleaning, and cash transfer to vulnerable households.
Those who sought to perpetuate the fuel subsidy and broken foreign exchange policies are people who will build their family mansion in the middle of a swamp. I am different. I'm not a man to erect our national home on a foundation of mud.
It's been just 4 months since the president was sworn into office, so is it too early to ask if the country is heading in the right direction?
Fellow compatriots, the journey ahead will not be navigated by the fear or hatred. We can only achieve our better Nigeria through courage, compassion, commitment as one indivisible unit. I promise that I shall remain committed and serve faithfully. I also invite all to join this enterprise to make our beloved nation into its better self.
As President Tinubu and his deputy, Vice President Shettima, wrap up Nigeria's 63rd independence anniversary with a colorful parade and display, there is the subtle reminder that the hopes and expectations of over 200 million Nigerians rest on their shoulders. Bernard Okede, reporting for News Central.
Joining us in the news to discuss the independence speeches, Azeem Salako, public affairs analyst, and Ireoluwa Oguntuase, a labor law expert. They're joined from Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. And one welcome to you, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on the news.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Now, I'd like to start with
Happy Independence Day to you.
Happy Independence Day to you. I'd like to start off the conversation with Azeem. Now, Azeem, Nigeria's 63-year-old country bedeviled with several political, economic, and security challenges. The president, in his speech earlier today, spoke on some of these issues. What's your assessment of Mr. President's Independence Day speech?
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Uh, well, I think the speech uh, came a little bit a little bit unusual. By my understanding, by my comment of unusual, is that the president, since he assumed the position as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has always used the speech as a communication tool to address uh, topical Nigerian issues in a language that brings succor and hope, renewed hope, as they call it, to Nigeria. But this particular speech, Independent Day speech, short form of sustainability of his communication approach to addressing the Nigerian people. What do I mean by that? Before I go into details, is the fact that the inactive voice is inactive voice as with regards to we hope to, we are trying to, and all of that, which has not been able to conclusively and symbolically tell us what is administration has been able to do, so as Nigerian people will have a clue with regards to where we are going. So I think in the area of using inactive voices in almost all the paragraphs in that speech, shortfall of my expectation. I expect that Nigerian at the moment, the Nigerian president at the moment will give us an empirical evidence of what the government has done, which tend to be a departure from where we have been, given the administration, given the past record of the administration. But we didn't get that in his speech. All we have gotten, all I saw in that speech is just hope, 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 promises, promises, promises.
Thank you, Azeem. I'd like to bring our second guest, Ireoluwa Oguntuase, into the conversation. Now, Ireoluwa, Mr. President approved a 25,000 naira increase for junior civil servants in his speech for the next 6 months. Labour executives, as we speak, have been invited to another round of talks with the federal government, come in a few days after the Attorney General of the Federation declared the proposed strike illegal. How do you see this meeting, this last-minute meeting playing out, and the announcement of the increase of 25,000 naira to junior civil servants for the next 6 months? Do you think it's enough to assuage the fears of Labour and make them call off this impending strike?
Okay, thanks for having me, and happy Independence Day once again. Now, I will say specifically that the speech in which the president made that specifically states that 25% will be given to junior workers is contained in paragraph 18 of the speech. I haven't read it. Now, let me quickly speak to the said paragraph vis-a-vis the laws and vis-a-vis the issue on ground now. I don't think at all, and with all due respect to His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I don't think the speech will assuage as much, in order to prevent the impending strike. And I'll give my reasons. In the first instance, the reason NLC and TUC, organized labor, the reason they want to go on strike is not only on the fact that as a result of the removal of the subsidy, that it has really affected the income of the people. That's not the only reason. It also includes, we need to also understand that as a result of the removal of the subsidy, everything has increased. For example, food, health, everything that is associated with it has increased. So if we're saying that there is going to be a provisional increment, in addition to the ordinary minimum wage that we have before, such that the low-grade workers, as the president has put it, they will add 25%, 25,000 rather to their salaries. In the first instance, we have other categories of workers. If we consider the Minimum Wage Act 2019, we have other categories of workers. So are we only saying that the effects of the removal of the subsidy only affect the low-grade workers alone? Now, what about the organized private sector? What about employees that are working in the private sector? It also raises an issue about them. And don't forget, the president is not only the president of the low-grade workers alone. The president is a president over, all employees, over everybody in Nigeria. So when the speech is, I think the speech is directly centered to a particular segment of employees. But even in addition to that, I think that I don't know whether the interest or whether the opinion of the labor has been factored in all this. Now, with respect to the president having a last minute meeting in order to avert the impending strike, I think in this country, we do things too late, because several notices has been given, to my knowledge, to the federal government in order for them to come to the bargaining table and have a meeting. And it will seem to me that there is, I think it is an uneven bargaining table, uneven in the sense that probably the federal government may be seeing themselves as too high as to come down to the level of the organized labor, and which is why we're in this situation now. So at this juncture, I think it is not enough in the president's speech to propose merely 25,000 alone. I think all other issues in relation to this subsidy has to be addressed. Now, the 25,000 that they are going to be giving, what categories of workers is it going to be applied to? And again, all the states, how are they going to apply it? How are they going to be applying it? Because we have employees throughout all the states. Would it only apply to the federal government employees, or would it only apply to state government employees? So those are the things that we really need to consider, such that labor can be assured that at least this is the right step in the right direction. But looking at that particular speech, particularly paragraph 18 on the surface level, my humble opinion will be that I don't think the speech will assuage the feeling of the organized labor with respect to not going on strike.
Thank you very much, Ireoluwa. Back to you, Azeem. Mr. President said during a speech he's doing everything possible to alleviate the hardship Nigerians are currently going through with the removal of fuel subsidy. Would you say his government has done enough in this regard? Looking at the timing from May the 29th, when he made that pronouncement at Eagle Square in Abuja, up to date, have you seen any workings, or what's your assessment of the government's response so far? And is the government really doing enough, as Mr. President said in his speech?
Okay, thank you very much. I think, in my humble opinion and honest opinion, I do not think that the approach of the government of Mr. President has been able to address the pitfalls of his Western and Eurocentric economic doctrine. And what do I mean by that? I suspect that, I call it pitfall because I want to be a little bit mild, and then assume that the president did not think through what would be the implication of the pronouncement he made at the Eagle Square on his first day in office, because it will be very difficult for the president to use a reactive economic policy to address the suffering and hardship that Nigeria is going. And I think this should be a clue, should give a clue to the president on subsequent policies, and also to successive administrations, that it is better that we use our preventive measures to address issues other than allowing that problem to happen and then start curing the issue. Because as it is today, oil prices is gulping up. Everything, all commodities, food, commodity, all services are going up in an astronomical increase. Uh, Employers are relieving their employees, and there is serious hardship and serious problem with regards to the economic realities of Nigeria. The students' loan that the president promised as for me has been adjudged invisible. It is unseen. The mass transit that the president promised that it will eat the ground of Nigeria, it is also invisible. It is unseen. All the promises and the hopes that the president had renewed with regards to addressing or cushioning the effect of the oil subsidy removal, they have remained invisible and unseen. And that is why I said that the president needs to move out from inactive voices in communicating to Nigeria and to be more active in his communication approach. We want to know what exactly you have done. The buses that you once promised, 100 mass transit buses, we have not seen anything. The student loan has not been seen. All the palliative measures, we can see the manner at which palliative measures are being implemented across the states in Nigeria. All these things do not commensurate or correspond to the yearnings and the demands of Nigeria. In my own honest opinion, I want to see the president addressing Nigeria with active voice, telling us what his administration has done. Now, the speech of the president today again, gives so much of promises, and then we do not have, he does not have a moral ground to persuade Nigeria to believe that the promises that he has again pronounced today will be met. So in a nutshell, we have seen an economic doctrine and policy that is eating hard on the flesh of Nigeria. Unfortunately, we have not seen, beyond rhetoric, an economic approach by the government that is responding adequately, effectively, and efficiently on the effect of this economic turbulence. So I think if I should score the president on the effectiveness of his approaches, of his economic approach, I will say he has scored far below average. Because
thank you very much, Azeem Salako and Ireoluwa Oguntuase, for your time with us on the news, and happy Independence Day to you both.
No, thanks for having me. Happy Independence Day to you too.
I appreciate it.
Sorry.